Welcome to Snakes and Otters, a pointless discussion of eternal questions. Get ready, we're about to live in your head rent-free. Hey, welcome to episode 83. I am Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis.
So guys, we're doing Christmas movies.
Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas,
Merry
listeners.
Christmas. Today is Christmas.
That's right.
So, kind of our annual Christmas episode. Last year, we talked about that pop culture phenomenon that is the Christmas TV special, starting with Charlie Brown.
Oh, yeah.
So
Still got to watch them. Yeah.
Let's talk about Christmas movies.
Yeah, we didn't talk about any of those last time.
We didn't do movies at all.
We are pretty good about staying on vehicle/genre.
I was going to say...
Not necessarily on topic. No.
Not on topic, no.
We love rabbit holes, but you know, they're at least tangentially related.
I mean, like when we did cop shows. We did just cop shows, not the detective shows.
Right.
Try to. Yeah, a little bit of it.
Well, you know, when you have somebody with OCD or
CDO,
you know, you stay within your definitions. That's the rules.
Stay in your lane. That's right.
That's right.
So, well, guys, I'd like to start with one of mine that I like, that I watch repeatedly every Christmas season, and that's White Christmas. Very famous musical.
See, and I never would have guessed that because by today's standards, such a sappy, goofy movie. But
yeah,
and I would never have pictured you as a White Christmas kind of guy.
Well, you know, I'm not a big musical fan, but
he secretly is a fan of musicals.
He's going to have to be. You're digging yourself a hole.
I'm not sure I can name another musical. That's the thing.
But you like this one.
I do like this one. You know, great old Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye.
Well,
starts out in the war, you know, and
it was another era, that's for sure.
Oh my goodness, why can't I think of her name? Vera Ellen.
Yeah.
And Rosemary Clooney. So it's just fun. The guys are soldiers in World War II. Crosby's his character is an established performer, but Danny Kaye's character saves his life and wants to get into show business, so kind of angles his way. Sort of everybody's doing an angle thing as part of one of the premises, and so they find themselves as very successful Broadway performers and producers. And 10 years later, Danny Kaye's character wants Bing Crosby's character to finally meet a girl because he wants 45 minutes to himself to get a massage, and they can stop performing and producing and
see, everything. That means a totally different thing today.
Yeah.
Get a massage.
So they end up going to Florida and meeting the sisters in the very famous dance of the sisters, which I tease my wife about because she has a sister. It's just the two of them. You know, so they have a kind of that Rosemary Clooney, Vera Ellen relationship a little bit too. So it's always a kind of a little bit of something that I can tease the wife about here at the house. And of course they fall in love. They don't realize it, but they go to Connecticut, Vermont. I'm sorry. Because the girls have a contract to perform at what today would be called a bed and breakfast.
Okay.
And the guys find out it's actually owned by their old commanding general.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, General Waverly. So, of course, and there's no snow at Christmas in Vermont.
Unheard of.
So the place is completely empty. So they decide to do a good turn for the general and put on the show there at the inn and get everybody to come in from New York and all this and all over New England for one big show. And then they all realize that they've fallen in love and, you know.
It sounds like it's syrupy to the point of syrup, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could. It's syrupy enough. You could probably put it in a bottle.
Yeah, pour it on pancakes.
And pour it on pancakes. Yes,
that's okay. You know, sometimes you need a little of that.
But it is. It's 1955.
Yeah, and it brings all that comes with that.
Yeah,
with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's unrepentantly optimistic in that great American way of the 50s.
It's fun.
It's a heck of a lot of fun. And the performances are pretty good, and the songs are fun, and It's,
You know what
it's
strikes me as
got an innocence to it.
yeah.
I was gonna say
Yeah,
that
you,
word,
you can't make a movie like that nowadays.
We could, but nobody would finance it, nor would they go see it.
So therefore, you can't make a movie like
That's what
that.
I'm saying. That's right.
Yeah.
But the reason you can't is that it's the nature of the conflict of the movie. Because, every story has to have conflict.
Yeah.
We're all big about how stories are done. And at the heart of that, there's a little bit of man versus himself in that. But, you can make the argument because it's Vermont without snow. Maybe it's man versus nature. I don't know. But in a way, though, the nature of the conflict is so mild, it's really hard to pinpoint.
Right.
It's more about just the little bit of antics that these guys go through, and just little bits of not quite screwball.
It's
but
one of those great misunderstanding things.
Yes.
Because everybody's actually really innocent, but Rosemary Clooney's character, falling in love with Bing Crosby, she holds herself back because she thinks he's doing an angle.
right.
Looking to embarrass the general to make $1, which isn't true, and she has to discover that on her
Right.
own. And
So,
it's
the nature of conflict goes. That's pretty low. Though, by today's
and you're right.
standards.
It wouldn't be done today. Somebody would have to be really evil and obnoxious, and they'd have to overcome that.
Yeah, because it's so over the top. That's in a way, this is, I think, one of the appeals of a movie like that, because you don't have to have everything be life or death.
Yes.
I mean, even in a Hallmark Christmas movie, it's practically life or death.
Mm-hmm.
Either
that's a pretty good parallel, actually. The Hallmark movies, low stakes, happy ending, certain tropes about going around and not finding true love. That was always there.
Some woman who's either a widow or unrequited love, whatever.
That determined
in a
professional
small town,
girl,
determined,
that can't find love.
The witch in New York
save
is
something.
coming back home, and
trying to save a small business or something, or veterinary practice.
and there was a hot guy there that always loved her, but she didn't know. And
we've just described 95% of all the Hallmark movies.
It was a pretty thorough body slam of the Hallmark movies. Yeah.
Well, hey, they're very popular. Because, that's kind of like what you're talking about here. You want to have an innocent, low-stakes movie every once in a while.
Well, and the thing is, you don't always get a happy ending in the same sense. You might get in movies today resolution in the sense that the bad guy got what was coming to him.
Yeah.
But you almost never get that same kind of happy ending.
Yeah, feel good, happy, romantic type thing.
Yeah, and there are no bad guys in White Christmas, really.
Right.
Well, nor are there any really in Hallmark movies. I mean,
sometimes there are.
Sometimes
occasionally,
they,
but those usually get rehabilitated by the end. Though usually they find out maybe
they get a comeuppance.
Yeah,
because they're not really destructive bad guys. They're just somebody's just being a jerk. Is all.
Right.
Well, he's not for her. But he usually finds somebody else that.
Well, there might be some evil banker trying to foreclose on that small business or something like
Sometimes,
that.
yeah. But a lot of times those folks, see the error of their ways and come around.
Right. He's like, oh yes, you can have the extension, or yes, we'll forgive your $5 million loan for your tiny little bookstore because we have a heart.
That's right. Yes.
It's like, yes. We were kind of stupid to make the loan to you, but what the heck?
In Whoville that day, they say the Grinch's heart grew 3 times. That's
3 sizes too large. Yes.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, the great thing about a movie like that, though, from that more innocent time, and to me, that's appealing. Precisely because it's not the same as the movies that are being made today.
Yeah.
It's why I love the black and whites from the 30s and the 40s.
Yeah.
Why I love the comedies.
Yeah.
Even as goofy as they are. You could make most of those comedies nowadays. Although I wouldn't mind seeing, if you could find good actors to replace them, a good Arsenic and Old Lace. Or His Gal Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Arsenic and Old Lace was a play. So, that comes up quite a bit, actually, on stage.
Yeah. Like I said, it's one of those exemplars of American optimism from the 50s. It just really is. And it's a really great little cute Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Francis, how about you, man? Let's have one of yours.
Thank you, Ted Turner. But
that's something we won't say very often.
That's right. You're absolutely well. He did make Gettysburg and God's
He did.
Generals.
We do thank him greatly for those.
Thank him for those because they would have never been made without his money. So we're grateful for all that. But he took an obscure 1980s movie that now has made it, because every Christmas he shows it either on TBS or TNT 24 hours on Christmas. And I love him for it. It's A Christmas Story. It was really a low budget, not
very low budget.
it was just. I remember when it came out, but it was like, okay, so what? And turned it into a classic. That's the story of the memoirs of Gene Shepherd, the humorist who narrates the story. It's become its own trope, because so many things happen in there. Everybody knows what happens when you put your tongue onto a frozen pole.
Kid, you'll shoot your eye out.
Kid, you'll shoot your eye out. These are things that we know. A Red Ryder air BB gun. With a compass in the stock. We all know these things.
Yeah, the Red Ryder BB gun. There's one hanging on the wall right
That's
here.
right.
And how many people? There's a place in Florida that a buddy of mine found that sells the lamp.
The electric,
fragile.
Must be Italian. That's right. Yeah, the electric sex in the window, as he says in the movie. The I didn't realize that was still out there. But everybody knows that.
Oh,
and everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's just everything about that. With the description of the dad is a cusser.
He profanity was his true art form.
Yeah, profanity that's the last.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, later on, when they're changing the tire and all the lug nuts go up, and Ralphie goes, "Oh, fudge!" But I didn't say fudge. I said the big one, the big dog F dash dash dash. And of course, it goes on from there, and he blurts out, "Where did you learn that?" And he says, "Well, Flick told me." Well, then they're getting on the phone. Where do you think he heard that? No, he didn't hear it from his father. He heard it from your side. There's so many things. The life buoy in the mouth. Come on, this has become a cliche.
The little brother, when they go outside to play in the snow, and mom puts so many layers on him, his arms won't go down. She kept pushing him down, and they just pop right back up.
He keeps crying. And Greg, I gotta go to the bathroom. Yeah. Oh, that's tough. That is a great one, and really. It can wear you out when they play it all day for a whole day.
Well, but the great thing is, though, you can catch it anytime.
That's right. Yeah. Pick it up wherever you pick it up at. Let it go on the background. We love to do Christmas work around the house with it playing. Now, my wife hates it. She's along over it. But I still insist.
It's a fun movie. It
is absolutely fun. Yeah. Everybody knows the lines. Pretty much you got the darn thing memorized, which is part of its charm.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all quote those moments in there. It looks like a deranged Easter bunny, that sort of stuff. I mean, it's just got chops. And Darren McGavin and all the actors and actresses.
Who was the mom?
Sorry, we're going to have to check that out during while we're talking about something else.
Yeah, we'll have to look it up. But there's hardly anybody in it that was a big deal other than Darren McGavin. And, even he's just kind of more of a TV actor.
Right.
Yeah, he had done Kolchak the Night Stalker, among many other things that he had done.
But he's not really a movie guy. Yeah, it was really a pretty small cast. And
it was no budget.
It worked well.
And because it was no budget, Ted Turner could get the rights to it pretty easily. And God bless him, he figured out a way to say, we can really make this a Christmas thing.
Probably the old cars were probably the thing that cost them the most money to get in and use in the film.
Well, depending on, I guess if he did make it through a studio, because studios have those things, in storage somewhere.
Well, they have companies that hold on to them,
absolutely,
and have them ready to use as movie props.
Right? Yeah, that's what Melinda Dillon was the mom, by the way.
Dillon,
Peter Billingsley, of course, was Ralphie.
Yes.
Amazing moments that it takes us back to an era that's before us. It's late 40s, early 50s.
Yes.
And my father-in-law absolutely loves it because it's his era. He was those kids. I mean, that was his type of thing.
It's set in the 40s, right?
Yeah, it was after the war, but it was just after the war. It was probably 48, 49.
Yeah, that Red Ryder BB gun has got to be closer to 50. It's late 40s,
early 50s. Yeah, it was definitely that. It's Truman Eisenhower type stuff.
Yeah,
I would say.
It's Truman for sure, I think.
And it was amazing. It laid out, and this kind of goes back to your love of your movie here. It lays out a time that is no more, that many of us remember fondly.
Yeah,
and there's a nostalgia. I don't want to give it too much power because it's kind of false. We know that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it's still not something that we don't seek after.
Well, it's not. I wouldn't even say that it's false, but just because other people can look back and say parts of life were horrible, does not and should not negate the good things that did happen. The nostalgia, the time when things were stable, the economy was growing. Yeah, there was still work to do, but progress was being made.
I mean, there's something to that whole. The Sears catalog is coming. I'm picking out what I want for Christmas.
Yeah, I remember doing that.
We
with
remember
catalogs.
that. We were probably one of the last generations to do that. Because you could talk to my younger brother, 7 years younger, doesn't have that experience. He was born in 1972. By that time, he was too small to remember it.
TV commercials took it over. Yeah.
Well, if we remember some of that, I mean, for gosh sakes, we all wanted the Mego action figures. The Micronauts, we wanted some of that stuff really, really bad. I mean, I wanted the whole Planet of the Apes playset, for goodness sakes. You all did too. Yeah. Those actually,
you're right. It's all about the innocence and again that sense of American optimism.
Yeah.
After the war,
some of it is going back to our youth, but we weren't of the Christmas Story or White Christmas. We weren't used at that time. That's before our time.
No,
we still
the Christmas
appreciate
Story
that.
is a boomer.
Absolutely.
I mean, because you're talking about a character that would have come of age in the 60s.
That is absolutely a boomer movie.
Yeah, so I mean...
nostalgia-wise.
Don't get us wrong, yes, all of that gives way to Vietnam and Watergate. We understand that.
That's our era. That's right. And but you see, one of the reasons that movie was I think was so good is because it was post those things. And we're remembering a time when those weren't.
Yeah.
And even we get that.
Yeah.
Because, we were the ones that, grew up during Vietnam and Watergate and all the energy crisis
on
and
TV,
and wondering why our cartoons aren't on and that sort of stuff.
Nope.
Serious business, guys.
Robert, let's have yours, man.
Okay, so
are you going to start the fight?
No.
Okay.
I want to do mine first, and then we can start the fight. And if we have time, I have one in honor of Mrs. Robert.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll have time. Because I'm going to go around again, and we'll do it again.
Mine is probably one of, if not one of the first, that almost everybody's going to think of as a Christmas movie, and that's It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah, we did it in show prep. That had to come up. It has to.
So yeah, I mean, this is my default go-to. I have looked for this when everything was just broadcast as a kid to see it every year because it was just one of those movies that I just loved. Part of it's the black and white aspect of it, the old movie. And I do not like the colorized version. I don't go for those.
That was Ted Turner. So if you want to slam him, we've praised him already. We've come to praise Caesar. Now it's time to bury him.
Yes,
whatever.
But Jimmy Stewart, it's one of his finest roles, in my opinion. It really is.
Yeah. Oh, then there's a lot of fine roles there too.
Yeah, a lot of great actors in that movie. A lot of Barrymore Senior's in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and does a great job as Mr. Potter. But to me, it's just one of those great movies for a lot of reasons. But it's just one of those great movies because it truly gets. I don't say the spirit of Christmas because that's kind of a weird thing, Because what is the spirit of Christmas? Christmas is about the birth of Christ. Yet almost no Christmas movie is about the birth of Christ. So, but to me, it gets that ethos, Martin.
Okay, I like that.
Of what it means to be a Christian, and shows it in action. Mm-hmm. So you've got that with George Bailey constantly sacrificing for others.
Yeah.
For the good of others, putting his needs and wants and desires aside. And yet the things that he puts aside aren't really the most important things because it allows him to stay in town to marry the girl of his dreams.
That's right.
And to help others. And if he had gone off to college, none of that would have happened. If he hadn't saved his brother from falling through the ice, he wouldn't have lost the hearing in one ear. Just all these different things that if he were selfish instead of selfless, we see changes the entire world.
Yeah, and that's the brilliant.
Which
of
is
this
the whole
movie.
point of the
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
Is it shows the impact that one man has on literally hundreds, if not thousands, of people.
Well, yeah, because saving Harry Bailey as a child saves the troop transport in World War II, which is kind of the whole. Every man on that troop transport died because you weren't there to save Harry.
Exactly.
As Clarence the Angel would tell us.
And so, that whole, because obviously, we talk about this sort of thing all the time, and often, about the ability and necessity of being able to sacrifice for others, to put someone else's good ahead of your own. And this movie just does a great job of that, and probably more so than any other movie is able to do it without making it just an obnoxious, in-your-face kind of thing.
That's true.
And that's another difficult thing to do.
Beautiful.
It is. And, it really is probably one of the first times I encountered what is essentially an alternative history what-if kind of piece of entertainment.
Sure, yeah.
And, that's one of my favorite pieces. So I was thinking about this earlier today. It's like, well, that's a good reason why it speaks to you, because it's literally a what-if story.
It's a what-if.
And it's a great what-if story. And then at the end, when George is about to lose everything because Uncle Billy has left the money that he was supposed to deposit in the bank, which is today it's hard for us to understand. Well, why would a savings and loan deposit money in a bank? Well, it was a different animal back then.
That's right.
The savings and loan today is almost really just a bank, essentially. So he leaves the money in Potter's office, and Potter, of course, keeps it
in his lap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
which is brilliantly done. The director, Billy Wilder, just fantastic with laying all this out, because you don't really know what's happened until Potter looks in his lap and sees it, closes his hands, and just moves on.
Right. And when George is going to go to jail, because there's auditors in, they're auditing the books, and of course you got to have all the money and everything add up, and otherwise you're going to go to jail for embezzlement and fraud and blah blah blah. And money starts coming in. He's out basically trying to kill himself, and then goes through the whole thing with Clarence the Angel. In real life, the town is coming together. Mm-hmm. And even the guys who were there to audit him end up throwing money in the basket.
That's right, yeah.
And then at the end, when George's company, or Harry's company, wires a message saying you can have whatever you need, basically, up to X amount, whatever it is. And
Sam Wainwright.
Yes,
right, yeah,
yes.
Because Harry shows up in
because Harry's there. Yeah, he's in the uniform. Yes, sorry, Sam Wainwright.
Which was his rival at one point.
Yes, his rival.
And yet he treated him so well. They stayed friends, and Sam ends up, it's kind of like one of those little threads that goes through there. He's the one that saves him.
Yes. I mean, he ended up being unnecessary, but he doesn't know that.
That's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And he was willing to cover the entire thing and then some. Mm-hmm. And, just that whole thing, that the sacrifice had an impact beyond what he saw. He didn't see those sacrifices as anything other than hurting himself, ultimately. But in the end, he realizes not just the effect that he had on others, because that's what Clarence helps him with, mm-hmm. but the end shows him that he's truly built a legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love the legacy.
Oh, boy.
Well, the line at the very end is my absolute favorite of all time.
Teacher says whenever a bell rings, an angel gets...
Not that one. That's a good one. That's a nice one. No.
Yeah. Total tripe as far as goes theologically, but yes.
That's right. No, the fact is no man is truly alone who has friends.
Yes.
And there's the lesson right there.
Yeah.
That's one of... It's not the only lesson, but it's a big one.
Yeah. He's...
And I tell that to people all the time. I'll preach a funeral, and I'll tell that to people.
I preach the legacy aspect at funerals almost all the time, because almost always it's a huge crowd.
Yeah,
and
look at all the lives this person touched.
Exactly,
and that's something that family needs to hear it, but we need to hear it about ourselves too, because we always have the opportunity to do better.
Yeah. So to me so it embodies that aspect of Christmas in the sense that it shows how one man's sacrifice can save so many others.
Yeah.
So you could argue that maybe it's better as an Easter movie, but it happens at Christmas time.
But it's it's optimism, it's friendship. There's a lot of themes there.
Yeah, and in a 90-minute movie, that's the beauty of some of these things.
Packed.
it's packed full of stuff, but it's not in your face, and it's not. I mean, it's a little contrived, but almost all movies are because you don't have enough time to really do anything.
Yeah,
but it's just so well made. Billy Wilder is he's one of the geniuses. He really is.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah.
And he didn't even like the movie. He didn't think it was all that great. It's
actually no. You said Billy Wilder. It's Frank Capra.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're absolutely right.
Frank Capra.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Man, we would have gotten an email about that for sure.
Absolutely.
Well, hopefully everybody
See, we get so caught up in what we're doing that sometimes we make those little mistakes.
That's right.
Sometimes we can correct them now. Sometimes we have to correct them later.
Yeah, it was Frank Capra, and he himself didn't think that movie was all that great.
Yes.
That it just, it's okay, wasn't bad. But what really made that movie the Christmas movie that we know it to be was the rights expired to it. It became for somehow, and it went public domain for several years. And I don't remember if this was the late 70s or I know it was in the 80s for that point. So every show, every local TV place could show it for free, and they all did.
Oh yeah,
every year. Oh yeah. Plus, you're talking the explosion of cable looking for cheap programming.
That's correct.
Well.
It was free, and it was. They're always looking for holiday programming anyway.
Yeah.
So every local station, every cable station showed this movie, and I remember it in the '80s for sure, for several years.
It's a free movie with a huge star.
That's right.
That at that time still would have resonated.
That's correct. And for
it
several
still gets
years,
played today.
That's it's been because the rights have been
especially
pulled back.
right there at that end of the 70s, early 80s.
Yeah,
Stewart would have been a guy that was fresh in everybody's memory.
He was still alive. People knew him. It took off to the point where it's become for a generation, and we're one of those generations.
Yeah,
it's not Christmas without that movie.
Exactly,
and that's part of the happy circumstances that contributed to that. And our children and the next generation are beneficiaries of that because we've passed it on. Now we seek it out, but only because it was able to be seen and people watched it and say, "Wow, you really did have a wonderful life, George Bailey."
Yep. Well, my next one, very much in the vein of these and Christmas Story, is the one that we put on when we put the tree up at our house, and it is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Oh, Cousin Eddie. Yeah, absolutely.
And I want to talk about Cousin Eddie and how they kind of watered him down a little bit. But
oh, really?
Yeah, from the first film, they watered Cousin Eddie down. In the first Vacation, Cousin Eddie appears, but it doesn't appear in the second one, the European Vacation.
Right.
So they brought him back. They brought back Randy Quaid for this one. But, in the first one, the two daughters, are on the swing at the farm, or not the swing, the seesaw at the farm, and Cousin Eddie's daughter says, I French kiss.
Daddy says I'm the best.
Oh God! Yes.
So that gets cut out, because Dana replies, "Well, everybody does that." No, but Daddy says I'm the best.
Yeah.
Or they've changed
something like that.
They've changed it, I think, now to Teacher says I'm the best.
Yeah.
Or they cut it out entirely. So, Cousin Eddie's creepy in the first one.
Yeah.
So they water it down a little bit for Christmas, and but it's so funny, and it's. Can I get you anything, Eddie? Some eggnog, something to eat?
A job?
Drive you out to the middle of nowhere, leave you for dead?
Nah, he's too busy emptying out the shitter.
Shitter's full.
Shitter's full. Gotta empty it out. Hey, good morning.
Have you checked our shitters, honey?
Yeah.
The shitter's full. But we love Christmas Vacation. We used to have it on disc. I think that we played it so often it went bad. We had to get another copy on Blu-ray. But we always watch Christmas Vacation when we put the tree up.
I love that movie, if nothing else, just for the lights.
Yeah.
Lighting up
Everybody
the house.
knows the lights.
That's a thing. That's what you call it now. When somebody puts too many Christmas decorations, you call them Clark Griswold.
Yeah.
That's right.
And it's so much of it's funny, and of course Johnny Galecki, pre-Leonard Hofstadter,
that's right.
plays Rusty.
Oh,
forgot
that's
he was
right.
in that. Yeah.
That's Big Bang Theory.
That's pre-Roseanne.
Yeah, and Juliette Lewis, I think it is, that plays Dana.
Yes.
So, but yeah, Cousin Eddie and the RV, and Brian Doyle Murray as the boss. And how did you get a bonus? I cut out bonuses this year. What a low down thing. If I had a rubber hose, I'd hit you with it, mister. So, but it's funny because it's kind of, it's an 80s movie. So it's got to be different from the 50s, So it's a whole different thing from White Christmas. But
it was a time when we were transitioning from the wholesome family to the dysfunctional family.
Yeah. But it's still in an innocent way.
Yeah. Well, best kisser aside in the first movie. And even so, they were still family. I mean, if you look at even Archie Bunker, which is, we think of as, a dysfunctional family, but they weren't.
That's right.
Yeah.
They actually did. It worked.
Yeah. I mean, they loved each other. Even Meathead was still, Archie was somewhat fond of him.
Eventually.
I mean, it's not like he would have, ever admitted it, but that still comes across in small ways. But yeah, and of course, Family Ties is still going on, which is the epitome of the '80s functional family.
Yeah.
But we're transitioning. So, and even so, though, like you said, it's still a wholesome thing.
Yeah, it's just that great '80s film. Again, a little bit watered down from the first one, but.
Probably a good thing.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus, the neighbor. Why is the carpet all wet, Todd?
Oh, yeah.
I don't know, Margot. So it's just that great juxtaposition between this kind of old-fashioned Clark Griswold trying to remember the 50s, and he's in the attic looking at the old movies, and then even down to the house is so different next door. The modernized, the stairs all are open, and, all the cool electronics in the bedroom. So... It's just really neat and fun.
Who doesn't love that movie?
Yeah, just a great way it's done. But yeah, very different though. But there is a tie between White Christmas and Christmas Vacation.
Oh, good. What is it?
When Chevy Chase goes on the tirade, when he finds out he's been enrolled in the Jelly of the Month Club. Of course, I can't repeat it, but it's, we're the jolliest bunch.
Oh, yes.
Since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny
effing
K.
Okay, we somehow got through that. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
So my two movies do tie together.
That's true. They do. What is our bourbon? Are we still on the quarter horse, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
We are, absolutely. Well, if you find a good horse, you ride it all the way to the end.
That's true.
I look at it.
That is true.
And this has been excellent. Owensboro bourbon. Martin deserves a lot of credit for picking that one out. Sight unseen, just kind of, decided, let's just do it.
Square bottle,
and there we go, right?
Yep.
It's got to be good. Bottle's different.
This is something different, and again, it's at a pretty good price point. It's about the $25, $26 price point.
We're always looking for new and different bourbons. So, hey, manufacturers, if you want us to feature you, just let us know.
That's right. We literally reach thousands of people.
That's good. Yes, we do. Absolutely, we do. And we drink.
And someday, millions.
There'll be one podcast to rule them all.
I'm going to snap my fingers and all the other half of podcasts disappear.
They'll just blip out of existence.
Yeah. All right, Francis, what's number 2 for you, man?
Well, I'm surprised. Everything we've talked about so far has all been fun. I mean, It's a Wonderful Life's got some serious moments to it. Don't get me wrong. But it's still fun. In the end, it's happy. And of course, and the one I want to talk about, it's not just one movie, but it's a Christmas standard. Everybody has a version of this that is their favorite because there's a bazillion adaptations of it.
Yeah.
You've got to talk about, if you're going to talk about Christmas movies, you've got to talk about Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. It's been done all over the place. I mean, it was done in the 30s, which is one of the things that people know, but in the 70s, George C. Scott did a fantastic TV version of it that is still one of the very, very best, just called Scrooge. Bill Murray, hell, he did Scrooge, which that's not really my thing. It was okay. I'm not a huge Bill Murray fan. He's all right. But
love me some Bill Murray.
well, I understand. I mean, it's a thing. But my favorite version, and this should come as no surprise,
Here we go.
is Patrick Stewart's version that he did for TNT. Yeah, and Robert rolls his eyes.
Sometimes I think Patrick Stewart sends him a check every month.
Yeah,
I would just
he'd have to share it if he did.
Yeah, I suppose.
We'd be getting a cut of that.
Yeah. We've met Patrick Stewart, though. We did back in the 80s, but when he was still on third season, I think, of Next Generation.
I don't remember the year, but that sounds about right.
Yeah,
yes.
it's where we actually met him.
Well, he did the convention.
He did the convention circuit. Yeah, that's right. Of course, he was, he was really nice. He was a class act, as we all knew. And he actually, that ties in really well what I want to talk about, because at that time, he had been, one of the things he talked about was his other projects. Because he could do that. He had the forum. And he talked about how the fact he would do a one-man show of A Christmas Carol. By memory, mind you. Of course, he's an actor. He can do this. And a fantastic one, as we all know. Sir Patrick is. And it was at that convention, mind you, that I was able to pick up a cassette copy of his performance. And I would listen to it every year on Christmas. It wasn't that long. I mean, it was probably 2 hours most. I mean, it's just like just like watching a movie. And so I was delighted when a few years later, TNT, Ted Turner, commissioned him to actually do the movie itself. And of course, the guy is one of the greatest actors on the planet. We know that. We'd watch him read the cereal box. At least I would. He's just that good at it. But he brings to that role just an amazing gravitas. We've used that word before. A fantastic performance. It's so different than Jean-Luc Picard. But if you know the story, and let's face it, we all know the story. Yeah. We've probably read. It's not a very long book. Many people have probably read it. I certainly have. And it was that version was very faithful to Dickens' original intent.
That's good.
And it's a fantastic performance of. It's a moment of pause to remind yourself that in this series day of commercialism, the reason for the season is very different. Mm-hmm. And that's something that Christmas movies we've talked about, Wonderful Life aside, doesn't go there.
Yeah.
We kind of have to go there. This is a pointless discussion of eternal questions. That's about as eternal question as you get.
Yeah.
But, the Christmas, ghost of Christmas future that doesn't speak, and Ebenezer Scrooge, people being delighted that he's dead. I mean, and that's a game changer.
He is the opposite of George Bailey.
Absolutely he is. Yeah. It's taken him a completely.
I mean, it's it's the Grinch, it's Theodore Geisel, and Dr. Seuss. It's the same.
Oh, see, now that would have been a good one.
Same idea.
The Grinch, but that's TV, of course.
Yeah.
Well, the Grinch.
Although it was done as
Jim Carrey did a movie, and I am not a Jim Carrey fan.
It depends on what it is, and I am.
He's got great range, and he's done some good stuff. I'm not a huge fan. I have a hard time getting past his Batman Forever with the Riddler. Just sometimes some performances color.
I did
your
like
opinion.
Liar Liar.
Yes, Liar Liar. He was great in.
Yeah, that's one of those where it suits him.
Ace Ventura wasn't bad,
and
works. The first one. The second one was awful.
That's correct. Yeah, the first one.
Second one was actually a movie I refused to finish watching.
Oh wow! And,
it's unusual for me. The one he was in, where he grew up as the main character on a television show, and he didn't know it was a television show.
Truman Show.
Yeah, that was phenomenal.
He did a great job. It had Ed Harris too.
Ed Harris.
That helped a whole lot.
Ed Harris covers a multitude of sins.
Yes, he does. That's correct. Yes. So, what's your next one?
So, time to start the fight?
Pardon?
Is it time to start the fight?
No. We got one more to go. And then we can
start the fight.
You guys got to do two?
That's correct.
Well, I thought this was going to be your second one.
No. This is an homage to my wife. So, my wife has a favorite Christmas movie.
All right.
So, and I agree, this is a great Christmas movie. I love it. She watches it when she wraps presents every year.
Well, good. I love those kind of traditions.
Yeah. So it is While You Were Sleeping. Sandra Bullock.
Okay.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't realize that was a Christmas movie.
Yeah, set at Christmas. And it's kind of about Christmas, but it's...
I love that movie.
It happens over the space of right before Christmas to just after Christmas.
It's a great movie.
Christmas is really the setting.
Yeah.
So, maybe this is a lead into the argument.
Okay.
But, it's... it's a story about this girl who's a
Ticket taker.
token taker, basically, at the subway in New York. And she is fallen in love from afar with this guy who doesn't even know who she is.
Peter Gallagher,
very good.
Yeah.
And, he gets mugged, falls on the tracks. She saves him, gets him to the hospital. And somebody asks, well, who are you? And, and it's like, oh, I'm going to marry him. Because, but nobody, she didn't think anybody heard her say that.
Yeah.
So then, the nurse who hears this, it's like, oh, well, of course you can stay here. You're his fiancé.
Yeah. And it spins out of control.
Spins out of control in the classic I Love Lucy kind of way.
The
Yeah, because
classic misunderstanding.
That's right, because he ends up having amnesia.
Yeah.
So he doesn't remember.
Well, it doesn't remember her, but he doesn't wake up until after she's developed this deep bond with his family.
Yeah.
Because they think, he's a playboy, which he is, and that he's very shallow, and that they're in love with her. They think she's great, and she falls in love with them.
Yeah.
Great Catholic family, because Grandma's always praying the rosary, and and all this, and their friend Ox is their Jewish friend, who finds out the secret early on, and he promises to help her tell them. But he's like, no, this is either great theater or it's good for her.
Yeah, he becomes the redemptive force in this because he's the one that helps her make it all come true.
And she ends up falling for the brother.
Oh, I'd forgotten that part.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the brother is...
he's the one that thinks she's a gold digger out to...
Yeah, well, she's a little crazy, too, because... what's his name? He was... The only other thing I can think of he's the president in Independence Day.
Oh, Bill Pullman.
Bill Pullman. Thank you, Bill Pullman.
That's right. Yeah.
So he's they fall for each other through wacky circumstances, and it's just a lighthearted thing. It's very fun, and she almost ends up marrying Peter until at the end, it all comes out and says, "No, it's not you, it's you," and blah blah blah. And the end of the movie is. She's doing the voiceover, and it's basically her telling a story to her kids, or to somebody. Peter asks, when did you fall in love with my brother, or something like that. It's while you were sleeping.
How I Met Your Mother.
Something like that. Yes,
absolutely.
But it's another one of those really good feel-good movies. It's a little redemptive.
Yeah, it's always a good thing.
It's redemptive for her in the sense that it drags her out of her spiral.
Yeah.
Because she's on a downward spiral to, being the 300-pound cat lady at best.
Yeah.
And, Joe Jr. Oh, my God. So the building she lives in is run by this guy named Joe, but his son is like the handyman.
Yeah.
And that's Joe Jr. And he's been trying to get into her pants forever,
Yeah.
And turns out he's got a thing for female shoes. And it's just really so many good characters in it, and really just good fun. And it's one of those ones that I do like watching with her because I enjoy the movie quite a bit too.
There you go. All right, so that's 6 great Christmas movies.
It is.
So
now,
time for an argument.
So
yes.
So many people, although technically you should do this. You should do the lead because you're the captain. You're the captain.
Yes, but I'm the one taking the contrarian position. But obviously, listeners, I'm sure you have guessed by now, the argument is about Die Hard.
Yes.
Now, don't get me wrong. Is Die Hard one of the greatest films of all time? Absolutely.
We all love that. That's one thing we do agree on.
Yippee-ki-yay, it is.
That's right.
On my Christmas list this year is a sweatshirt that says, "Now I have a machine gun. Ho, 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 ho."
Oh,
because those can be bought. You can get anything on the internet. And
Yes.
that's one of the things you can get on the internet. But to me, it's an action movie set at Christmas, which I know makes me an outlier. Yes. Because Francis here assumed we were all in agreement.
I really did. I truly thought we were all there.
Well, and that's why I say, you can make the argument that my second movie for my wife is a love story set at Christmas. But, I think I made a fairly decent argument for it being
It's a real Christmas movie. I wouldn't argue.
Plus, it has a Christmas it's related to a Christmas tradition in the household. So
yeah, and family and all that good
that's
stuff.
part of one of the reasons I like it, because every year for the last 3 years, and I ain't stopping anytime yet, on Christmas Eve, one of the things that I always do is we have a 5 p.m. mass that I always go to, and a midnight mass that I go to. So I've got to stretch there for several hours. For me, part of that time between there, and I make my wife watch it, and she
nothing like
agrees.
preparing for the celebration of Mass and the birth of Christ than watching Die Hard.
That's right. We watch Die Hard. The girls, my daughters, will usually come over. My son's usually there, and it's gotten to the point now they're asking. It's time to watch Die Hard.
It's time to watch Die Hard.
That's right. Because
we're home from Mass. It's time to watch Die Hard.
That's right. We've got several hours before you have to go back. We've got just enough time to eat and watch Die Hard while we do it.
Well, I think that. So that's a great Christmas tradition.
Yes.
And I think not just being set at Christmas. I think it does have some redemptive themes, because I think for at least most of the Christmas movies, there's some kind of redemptive theme to it.
Yeah.
To be it doesn't necessarily have to be overt, but
yes, John McClane and his wife get together again.
Yes.
And their marriage is strained at the very
Granted,
beginning.
in later movies, it's still strained, but you get the sense at the end of this that they're going to get back together.
Right.
That the marriage has been saved.
And Al.
And Al, you gotta love Al. Oh my gosh, I love him.
Al Powell.
Yeah.
Sergeant Al Powell.
Oh, I forgot about him. Yeah, absolutely.
Very redemptive for him.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he is the walking cop cliche.
He is, but he pulls it off so very well. I mean, it's just an amazing moment. Reginald Vell Johnson. Yeah. He is just a fantastic actor. He was in all sorts of stuff in the 80s in different things.
Well, Family Matters is the big claim to fame, of course, with Urkel.
Exactly. But, come on, guys. We have to talk about the great Hans Gruber.
Oh, yes.
I mean, Alan Rickman. He had done a lot of stuff by that point, but he was not generally well known to American movie-going audiences before this movie.
I tell you what, the bit where he goes from playing like he's one of the hostages who got away with the American accent.
They got all but Bill Clay.
That was phenomenal, because that's difficult to do, to change an accent midstream like that.
That's right, and he pulls it off so well. And that's just a tribute to the late, great Alan Rickman, who did so many great works. He's known for Harry Potter, but we loved him long before he ever touched
And another
that.
tie to Christmas, he plays the Sheriff of Nottingham, and he threatens to cancel Christmas.
Oh, that's right. I had forgotten about that. Yeah. He played the Sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yes.
Yes, and he threatens he's going to go after the guy with a spoon.
Yes.
And Guy of Gisborne, I forget the actor who plays him, but you'll probably remember. He says, "Why would you do that?" He goes, "Because it would hurt more. It's dull." I love Alan Rickman.
Yes.
And he got to choose some serious scenery in that movie, though.
Yeah.
He played this one pretty straight.
Yes.
He was a bad man. I mean, he was Samuel L. Jackson level of tough, and that's saying something.
And ruthless. Yes.
Ruthless, yes. And he lays it all out so brilliantly, because he brings you in as this cultured. You don't know what he is until he pulls the pistol, and I'm going to count, and then all of a sudden he pulls the trigger and blows Tanaka's
Takagi, yes.
Blows
Joseph Yoshinobu Takagi.
Yes, exactly. All over the place, and then all of a sudden the movie gets very dangerous very quickly, and then you realize, oh my gosh, it's a brilliant piece of writing.
Yes, and I love later when he asks Holly, "What idiot put you in charge?" You did.
When you murdered my boss. Yeah, you're right. The whole setup.
Jim Shigeta, of course.
Yes.
Excellent actor.
Yes. The whole setup of Hans Gruber, that character, the elevator ride, nice suit, John Phillips London. Yes. I hear Arafat buys his there.
Yes, yes.
And the whole benefits of a classical education. That's all great stuff.
I would love to sit and discuss men's fashion with you all day, but we don't have time. So.
My associate Theo has some questions for you. Fill in the blanks kind of questions. Yeah, that's...
I like Theo in that. You never really get to see what happens to him, if I remember correctly.
Well, Argyle wrecks the limo into the ambulance and knocks him out.
That's what it is.
That's
yes.
right. That's exactly right.
But Theo has that great line because he's watching the video feed. He's like, oh, look, the police have themselves an RV.
Yeah, I
think he actually says recreational vehicle.
Yeah, the police have themselves in our recreational vehicle.
Yes.
I mean, come on, we love this movie. I know you guys say it's not a Christmas movie.
I'm not saying
it's a.
Have I quoted more lines than either of you? Of course, I love it. I memorized the whole thing.
I guess our definition of Christmas movie is just a little bit looser, ironically enough.
That's right. Yeah, because to
but
me,
it's the rules, man.
Because you want to celebrate at the end. When Christmas has finally arrived, it's the anticipation for the end of the movie. When all this crap happens, Christmas arrives, and all is right with the world again.
Usually, your Christmas doesn't involve blowing up the top floor of the tower.
I'm never going up again in a tall building.
So instead, he just takes off on the side of a plane.
Hey, I will listen to Christmas in Hollis. I do like the movie. I do like that song. It's Christmas time in Hollis, Queens. Mom's cooking chicken and collard greens. That's the Run DMC they listens to in the limo with Argyle.
Oh yeah.
See, you are. We bow to you, sir, as the expert.
That's a great song.
I sure didn't know that one. No, and I've seen that movie a zillion times too, but I missed all that.
It's
one.
Christmas time in Hollis, Queens.
Well, I have discovered when you
collard greens.
Yeah, but I have discovered that. If you've had a stressful day, take your shoes off barefoot and crunch them on the carpet. But keep your shoes close by.
Yes, always keep your shoes close by.
Make fists with your toes.
That's right, and it works. It works, which is, to me, that is brilliant writing. That's one of the things that movie does so well. Yeah. It takes something like a simple throwaway line, and it makes Chekhov's gun out of it, where it's going to get fired, and it becomes a critical piece to the entire movie.
Yeah,
that's just good writing, because you had no idea that mattered.
Yeah. I am on the lookout for that novel, Roderick Thorpe, and I cannot remember the name of the novel. I'll have to look it up. But the movie had been in development for a long time. Originally, I think Frank Sinatra was slated to star in it because he had actually starred in a detective film based off Roderick Thorpe's first novel. And because the development took so long, of course, Frank Sinatra doesn't, you can't really convincingly put him into an action film.
He would have made a good Hans Gruber, not as a German, but
yeah.
Well, believe it or not, Frank Sinatra was originally going to be Dirty Harry.
Yeah.
That was, and they actually did some promotion. You can find on the internet very quickly some promotional posters that they had done with him in line with that.
Yeah. He didn't want to mess with that giant gun, the Model 29 Smith & Wesson 44 mag.
Yeah.
But so he had appeared in a detective film based on a Roderick Thorpe novel, and then this was supposed to be a sequel, but they disconnected the two and rewrote it, and you have Die Hard.
Yeah, Nothing Lasts Forever.
Nothing Lasts Forever.
That's the name of the Roderick Thorpe book that it's based on.
Nothing Lasts Forever. So, but it's. I think it's even filmed at the same place as one of the Planet of the Apes films, right? Isn't Nakatomi Plaza also the big plaza that appears in the fourth Planet of the Apes
Conquest
film?
of Planet of the Apes? Yes, actually it is. It's a well-known downtown L.A. Landmark that was used for several different places.
Yeah.
And I remember the Planet of the Apes folks, Roddy McDowell did a really great, and I think you even see it over there on your shelf, documentary about the franchise called Behind the Planet of the Apes, and that's where they talk about how they filmed every one of those. Because by the time the fourth Planet of the Apes movie was coming on, we're trying to be cheap here.
Yeah,
there's a budget. We can get you two more movies out of this, but there's not going to be any more space scenes or any of that sort of stuff like that. Because we got all the makeup, we can make this work. It's pretty cheap now, and Roddy McDowell was willing to sign on to it. It was actually a brilliant use of existing sets because it's basically filmed in modern day Los Angeles. Because it's cheap. It's just location shooting. Pretty easy, clear out everybody and just do it. And they did a fantastic job with that. And it's the same location they use for parts of the Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah. So, okay. I'm still going to remain contrarian, but yeah, I mean, you got me thinking about it. Maybe Die Hard.
I love it.
If you look on lists of greatest Christmas movies, Die Hard usually ranks right behind It's a Wonderful Life.
Wow, that's high praise.
So
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's right there. So most people do, yes, consider it a
it's
Christmas
somehow
film.
it's managed to make that leap.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's because that it's shown a lot during that time, and they've realized the synergies that provides.
Well, and it's
I don't
also
think it was
just a
intended
fun
to do that.
movie.
Well, absolutely. It's that I remember when it came out, because this was right when Bruce Willis was still on the air with Moonlighting. I think this was
Quite
one
possibly,
of
yeah.
his,
When
one
it
of
was,
his.
yeah, when it was initially released.
That's right.
Yes,
And this was I don't think this was his first major motion picture, but it's dang on close to it.
It's pretty close. It's the first
And
lead role.
nobody thought, Bruce Willis.
Yes, because Blind Date was before this.
Okay, yeah. So he'd done one, but he was he was not an action star. He was a comedy guy, because that's kind of what he came up with, on Moonlighting.
Yep.
And that was his only real work at that point. And all of a sudden, Die Hard hits, and whoa,
It was huge. I mean,
it was a huge movie because it was a great movie. And all of a sudden, Bruce Willis is now a bona fide action star. Most of the roles he got after this that fit that, he would have never done. He would have never done 12 Monkeys. He would have never done Pulp Fiction. My goodness, so many different... his career was made by this. I'm sure he's very grateful.
12 Monkeys is a great movie, too.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't part of the movie-going, paying adult public when Die Hard was released, you just don't... It was a huge thing.
It was a risk.
major phenomenon.
It was a risk, but see, he was also cheap. And they said,
Yeah.
okay, this guy's he's headlining a TV series. He's got some work. He's got some experience. Let's make this work.
But
It was
combined
about the story.
Yeah, it combined a lot of violence, but with a really good story, a simple story to follow.
Sure, that's correct.
But also a lot of the humor that he brought to it.
Yep.
Yeah,
And-
the movie I don't think would have been as successful without Bruce Willis. I think there's a little bit. It could have been, but
It depends on who you got to do it.
I suppose. But there's a little bit of David Addison in there, and I kind of like that. From Moonlighting,
Yeah.
which is another one. We could even do a whole episode on that series because that was very much part of our day back in college. That was in its heyday when that series was just all that.
Yes, when Mark Harmon became one of the most hated men in America for sleeping with Maddie Hayes.
That's correct. Yes. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Sybil Shepherd is still one of the most beautiful women on the planet, and I'm not backing off that even today. But that's another
She
story.
is pretty. She is pretty. All right, so that gives us a grand total of 7 Christmas movies in 55 minutes.
Or 6.5 anyways, depending on what...
Yeah.
Depending on how you want to count that one.
So I guess we'll have to save some for next Christmas.
Well, I know, yes, because
to continue
what are
our
we going
annual-
to do?
We
Yeah.
can do
something-
Christmas music next year.
Yeah,
We
Christmas
could.
music.
We could. Oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. Whatever.
We need to do a Christmas episode on aluminum trees. Yes or no?
Oh,
Well, I can agree with you on that. I don't know if we can get much mileage out of it, but I think it's a good idea.
Wow.
You don't think we can argue for almost an hour about aluminum Christmas trees?
Well, it depends on how many rabbit holes we're allowed to go down. But yeah, it's.
when have we ever put a limit on rabbit holes?
No, never. I mean, that's.
I mean, hell, Hooba Jubes are an entire episode of the rabbit hole.
Hey, I'm with it.
Francis, what is up for next week,
Oh,
buddy?
yes. Well, it's going to be New Year's next week.
That's
So
right.
it's-
Dropping
it's-
on New
it-
Year's Day.
And it's going to be something completely, new subject, completely new
And now
subject.
for something completely different.
That's right. Now for something, I couldn't have said it better. That's right. It's going to be history next time. In 2021, we have kind of decided amongst ourselves that the whole year will be featuring stuff that celebrates the anniversary of Pearl Harbor, the United States entry into World War II.
Yeah.
So we're going, which will take place next December, a year from now. We're going to talk about, in an extended series, a couple different series actually, of World War II episodes. We've danced around this a lot. We've done Rome, we've done World War I, we've done the Civil War. We figure World War II really deserves its own moments.
It's been something we've been building towards.
It is because
we
our
could-
grandparents' generation fought it.
Yeah.
So we are within 3 generations of those who experienced it. So
Actually, my grandparents... I have a grandparent who fought in World War I.
I did too.
Yeah.
His 2 brothers did. So it's kind of one of those things. But our collective memory goes back.
Yeah.
We knew veterans, many
Yeah.
veterans. So we've heard the stories firsthand. I had a great uncle that was there the second day of D-Day. We're going to do a D-Day episode in 2021.
Yep.
But we're going to start next time around with one of my favorite subjects. Martin, I think you're going to lead it, though.
Yeah.
It's about, we're going to call it Wolves Upon Us. It's the Battle of the Atlantic. It's the U-boat story. If you want to see a recent movie, Tom Hanks did the movie Greyhound in 2020. Because of the pandemic, it didn't get a lot of play out there, but it's a really good story of how things almost fell apart. Britain almost starved. The convoy system they were absolutely dependent upon, and Hitler almost took it out. It was very close.
If Hitler had made submarines instead of battleships, it could have been an entirely different war.
That's correct. Unrestricted submarine warfare. World War I. That's what brought the United States in, but it can't hold a candle to the actual level of warfare that took place in World War II. And we're going to explore that. And dare I say, go deep with that.
Ooh,
Next
nice.
episode.
Good
yeah.
ones enduring.
I thought
Nice,
you'd
I
like
liked it.
that one, yeah.
Hope you enjoyed another pointless discussion of eternal questions. Remember, new episodes published every Friday at noon Eastern.
Spread the word. We're on all the major podcast platforms. And leave us a comment or review because that helps others find us.
We're on Instagram, Twitter, as well as our website, snakesandotters.com.
I'm Martin.
And I'm Robert.
And I'm Francis. Join us next week, same snake time, same otter channel.